in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the dopamine menu, which is quite important for us as ADHDers because we're always sourcing for dopamine somewhere, right? Or a source of dopamine where we can fill up our tank, right? But um, more often than not, we're choosing ones that are not as they're not as healthy, if you want to call it, right? So I'm just going to use food as an example to drive this idea home. So obviously, menu does tie into obviously when you think about menu, you think about food. So I want you to think of this as um, when it comes to you being on a diet or you're working with a personal trainer, for example, and you're trying to lose weight. That's your goal, right? You want to obviously be in a deficit, and you being in a deficit makes you obviously lose the fat, right? Now, how we're looking at it for the ADHD is that there's, for example, for food, there's carbs, right? And there's good or calories, and this is calories would be a better example right now. So there's calories. You can have the same amount of calories, but a different meal from someone else, and someone else will lose weight faster than you, right? How I want you to see it is that it's the same with the ADHD, where I could be picking a different dopamine source than you, but I'm gonna be more um I'm gonna be more fulfilled. I'm gonna be more joyful throughout that day. I'm not gonna feel as tired and sluggish, right? So I want you to see those two things as like a very similar. How you deal with diet is the same way as how you deal with dopamine as an ADHD. So, I could eat a plate of food, which basically could be the same amount of calories, and it's got all the protein that I need, all the nutrition that I need in there. And you've got a plate of snacks and sugary foods and all this stuff that's got the same amount of calories, if not more, which is fulfilling. It feels so good to eat. It's so nice. It's tasty. But then you're going to feel sluggish. You're going to get that coma afterwards. You're going to feel tired and not as active throughout your day, right? That's how I want you to see dopamine from now on, right? That's what's actually going on. So you don't need less dopamine. Like dopamine itself is not actually the problem. It's just like where we're sourcing it from, right? We just need a better source. So what ADHD is actually want is it's not really money and fame. Like money and fame appears to look nice on the outside, but really what we really love is flow state. We love being in flow state. That's why we lose track of time. That's why when we do something that we love, we look at the time and 3, 4 hours is gone. Even in your doom scroll, like you're doing something enjoyable, but you love the fact that you're in flow state and you're just in the moment of that thing, and you just realize that how much time's gone. So that's something that we are experiencing quite often, but just sometimes it's not the way that we want it to look, right? And of course, sometimes we just realize that we've done the wrong activity and done flow state in the wrong activity, right? So flow state is when time disappears. So we get time blind, right? Effort feels light. So like, we're doing something and it's just like, man, like, it's just easy, right? And it feels natural as well. So the ADHD brain is actually built for that. So we need to just be in environments that helps us to be in that state, and the outcome being a really good outcome because we're using it wisely, right? So flow sources that I can give an example of would be movement. I always keep talking about movement. It's just one of the most underrated things for ADHD. If you're not moving, like it's probably the reason why you feel the way you feel. If you're not feeling very good about yourself, and if you're feeling a little bit like low and low energy, it's a lot to do with the fact that you're not moving enough. Um, so just even doing 50 minutes is going to help you a lot. It calms your mind down as well. A lot of people rely on meds, but if you've done a lot more movement, you probably won't need to rely on the meds as much. So yeah, I mean that's not medical advice. It's just I don't take any meds, and movement seems to be helping me a lot with calming my mind down. So yeah, and then there's creativity, of course, like doing creative things. We love doing creative projects. We love diving into creative ways of doing things. Problem solving is a really big thing for us. Like a lot of us thrive in the problem solving type of roles if we're doing work in that field. Writing is a very great way as well. Reading, learning, right? So these dopamine sources feed you, they don't drain you. Obviously, depending on, like I looked at learning as that some people could feel drained through learning, but it depends on the way that you're learning, right? You could find ways to learn in a way that makes it more, it fuels you more, and it's just finding the preferred way that you like to learn. But learning is obviously a very good source as well, right? I'm going to talk about phone fasting as well because it's something that we need to um, consider having as a rule, like around our phone and how we use it. And it's easy for us to pick up our phone and just quickly use it as a dopamine source all the time, right? It's just go in your pocket, get a dopamine top up, right? By going on social media or whatever thing that is sparking your curiosity. But the phone's not actually the thing that's the problem. Like a lot of people are like, oh, the phone evil, social media, like they're blaming something externally that really is not actually the problem. Like the phone could be used differently, it could be used wisely, it could be used if you just put rules in place for it, right? So phone fasting is a really good way for that. So like for example, you could say from 9 in the evening till 9 in the morning is where I don't use my phone. My phone goes in the office or it goes in another room or it's switched off, and giving yourself that moment to just be phone free. I think it's really important to have that. So phone fasting, I definitely would consider doing it. It's not easy, obviously. It's quite difficult to do, but if you do put it in place, I think it will make a massive difference to your mindset and just calming you down and um, yeah, just finding other ways to get your dopamine instead, right? So purpose equals clean dopamine. So I'm doing purpose-driven work at the moment. So I'm a coach. I have a community that I run. I have an Instagram that I'm running where I'm sharing valuable insights on my journey and clips or you know educational content. Right, that's my contribution, and by contributing, I get a lot of dopamine from that. So a lot of people will say, "Oh man, you're doing so much, man. How you doing all this?" It's like, well, I'm just using this source of dopamine instead of doom scrolling throughout my whole day. For me, it's really hard for me to doom scroll like as much as I can still do it because obviously, my brain is my brain, right? So it's going to want to source dopamine as soon as possible in some ways. But it's not about me being perfect. It's about me making progress and catching things sooner. So when I am doing that activity, I do catch myself faster and able to go into an activity that's more like this, right? Helping, teaching, creating value, serving others. So whenever I find myself going into that rabbit hole too much, I end up looking at how can I help someone right now? Who can I, maybe I could have a conversation in DMs right now with someone who has just reached out and maybe give them some value in some way. Maybe I can see how I can help a client, check in on the client, how they're getting on that. So I just switch my attention to contribution, and it normally helps me with getting the dopamine that I want. I might just quickly do a recording of a video that on the spot, like what I was thinking about as value, and then turn it into a reel or turn it into a story, right? So that's how I'm approaching dopamine, and just getting that out, and having that accomplished is really great. Like so now, for example, this is one of my dopamine sources now. Like I'm going to finish this challenge. It's Christmas Eve. I do not care. It's Christmas Eve. I'm still recording this. Why? Because it's only 5, 10 minutes of my day. Like once it's done, it's done, right? So there's no excuse. I can do this any time of the week, and there'll be one posted on Christmas Day as well. So yeah. So action step: create your dopamine menu, or at least try to think about flow activities that really spark joy for you, that you like to lean into, and maybe just put a bit more time and effort into, or prioritize purpose activities as well. Contribute to the community in some way. There's a link in the description of my community if you want to join. There's ways that you can share your values, that you can share your story, or you can participate with other people's posts who are talking about their journey and connecting with them. And this is a purpose driven activity, right? And then there's phone fasting. Maybe just find a window of time in your day where you feel like you'd like to honor that as a moment where you don't use your phone. And that's it. Take care. Peace.